Hi guys, this is Sam and welcome to Logic. In today's pronunciation video, we're going to talk about all things schwa, what sound it is, why we have it, how and when we produce it, and what a big difference it makes in your sounding native. I will then make another video on how we can change the meaning of a word based on whether we use a schwa or not, and how the schwa itself is evolving in the way we speak. Then I'll be making a further video on how the schwa influences and affects the pronunciation of some words in connected speech. So without any further ado, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and let's get started. The schwa is a vowel, and in English all other vowels involve significant movement and engagement of one or more articulators, which are the organs that you use to produce sounds, for example, lips, tongue, teeth. However, the schwa doesn't at all. The schwa is the laziest and most relaxed sound in the English language. Technically, it's a mid-center, unrounded vowel, meaning that the mouth is open at natural openness, not too much, not too little. The center of the tongue is ever so slightly elevated, and your lips are flat. But actually, I don't want you to think about these technical elements of its production. I just want you to aim for the laziest and most energyless sound you could possibly produce, for example, when you've just woken up. Now, do make sure that your lips are open ever so slightly. Although it is a very lazy sound, we still want the lips to be open enough for a minimum amount of air to flow through. Don't go, that's too closed. We want Why do we even have the schwa? It's not just because we're lazy, but there's a little bit of a geeky background to it. Words are made up of syllables, which are the smallest beats of sound containing a vowel and usually consonants around it. You can basically say that every time you find a vowel, which can be a monophthong or a diphthong, you basically have a syllable. A monophthong is a single vowel sound, and a diphthong is a double sound that counts as one. For more information about the terminology that I'm using regarding pronunciation, I will link here a video on all of that. If we take the word bag, we have three sounds or phonemes, b, a, g, and together they give one syllable. If we take the word open, we have four phonemes, o, p, n, and together these give two syllables. Dictionaries that do break up words into syllables will usually do so by using a dot. In this case, O is two sounds together, but they count as a diphthong, so they are considered as one. As a little side note regarding syllables, some languages count syllables based on spelling. So in Italian, for example, the word nice, which doesn't exist in Italian, would count as two syllables. However, English counts syllables based on pronunciation. So because we have only one diphthong, nice only has one syllable. And this is very important in English because it affects the way we create comparatives and superlatives. And that brings us to stress. In multisyllable words, one is stressed, meaning that that's where the emphasis of the whole word is concentrated. It's the most important syllable of the word, and it results in it being longer, stronger, louder, and with a full vowel sound. Remember, only vowels carry stress, and in one-syllable words, obviously the stress falls onto the only syllable that we have. If we take this word, we have two syllables, sal, add, and the first one is the stressed one, so that's where we concentrate all the energy of the word. We say salad. If the second one were stressed, we would say salad, putting more stress on that one and less energy on the first one. In pronunciation, stressed is shown through an apostrophe before the syllable that has the stress. So salad has its stress on the first one, so we put the apostrophe before the first sound. English is a stress-timed language, meaning that the stressed syllables in English occur at a fairly regular interval and create a specific pattern and rhythm, and the unstressed syllables are usually reduced and shortened in order to fit the specific rhythm. Other languages, like Italian, for example, are syllable-stressed languages, meaning that they still have stressed and unstressed syllables, but they all take up more or less the same amount of time to be produced. And usually the unstressed syllables are not shortened. Definitely, they're not shortened in Italian. Going back to our first word, if I were to read this in an Italian accent, I would still stress the first syllable, but I would still keep a full sound in the second one as well. So I would say something like salad. In English, however, because the first syllable is stressed and the second one isn't, the second one is shortened. So we say salad. Let's go back to salad, salad. In this other word, the stress falls onto the first syllable again. But again, if I were to read it in Italian, I would keep the same strength and length of both vowel sounds. I would say something like common. In English, I say common, common, common. Basically, the role of the schwa is to replace full sounds in unstressed syllables. Since the second syllable of this word is unstressed, we don't keep a full a sound. We don't say salad, but we reduce it to a schwa. We say salad. And by making the second syllable more insignificant, we automatically allow the first one, sal, to shine even brighter. The same thing happens with this second word. We say common with a full sound on com being the stressed syllable and a simple schwa in the second syllable because it's not important. The schwa is one of the most immediate elements that give you away as a non-native. Nobody would ever say salad or common, and adopting the schwa improves and increases your pronunciation drastically by at least 50%, if not more. But it's a fairly tricky sound to spot, even as a mistake. What does that mean? If you say common salad, a native speaker would definitely be able to hear that something is not quite right there, but they wouldn't necessarily be able to put their finger on it. They wouldn't be able to tell you, oh, that's exactly the mistake that you're making. It's not as obvious a mistake as saying cut instead of cat. So that means that it's even harder for non-native speakers to understand that we use this sound in the first place, and that that's the sound that they need to adopt if they want to sound more native. Remember, when it comes to pronunciation, your brain will try everything in its power to match and bring foreign sounds closer to the sounds of your native language, so it's easier for it to process what's happening. In Italian, for example, the sound schwa doesn't exist. So when I say common, an Italian brain immediately hears a o sound for the second o, even though I'm not saying it, I'm saying a schwa. And that's because that's the closest sound that they can produce. Also, it's spelled with o, which in Italian can only be pronounced as an open o or a closed o. Now I'll give you one more example of how much more native the schwa can make you sound. Let's take the word bacon. In Italian, it's pronounced as bacon, where the a turns into a single e sound, and the schwa of the o turns into a closed o. Bacon. When I go back to Italy, if I say the word bacon in correct English, all my friends mock me and say, oh, you want some bacon? And what's very interesting is that when they mock me, they sort of produce a schwa themselves, and they mock me because my pronunciation sounds more closed and sophisticated, and that is given by the Schwa. They don't find the different pronunciation of the letter A worthy of mockery because that's just a different sound, but it doesn't make me English. But the Schwa does. That's what makes us sound more English. Unfortunately, the minute you say opinion, you're out. You're not a native speaker. That's how little we need to spot a foreign accent. The stressed syllable here is pin, so the two O's on either side are schwas, and we go from opinion to opinion. That's all I need to do to go from foreign to native, and the difference really is mind-blowing. Careful, both you and your brain won't like this concept of the schwa at all because you feel like you're not doing anything, or rather you're not doing enough when you speak. But please don't fight it because it's exactly what we need. It's exactly what we say and what we expect you to do to sound native. The problem with the schwa is that any vowel can give a. So the O in the second unstressed syllable of the word common could actually be spelled as A, E, I, and U. So if I need to spell a word with a schwa that I've never heard before, chances are I might get the spelling wrong because I don't know how to spell it and I've never seen it. We get these words right only out of habit. We all know that common is spelled with an O because we studied it and we've seen it in our lives. Here we have a list of words that all contain a schwa, and as a little challenge, I would like you to pronounce them first with a full sound everywhere, so each vowel sound is pronounced fully, as if they were all stressed. And then I want you to pronounce them correctly so you can notice the difference. I will do a couple of them with you. So if we pronounce the first with full sounds, I say around. The correct version is around, with the first A going from A to schwa. Around, around. Item becomes item. Holiday becomes holiday. Pronunciation becomes pronunciation. Envious, subscribe. Lesson, sugar, flavour, mixture, cactus, balloon, yesterday, computer, Italian, pursue, actor, centre, sofa, thorough. Unfortunately, we don't really have many hard and fast rules as to when we pronounce the schwa, but we do have some. We pronounce the schwa in these syllables only if they're not stressed, when we have the letter A and a consonant in initial position. Around, award. OUS at the end of a word. Envious, generous. ION in final position. Pronunciation, session. A in final position. Sofa, Lisa. A vowel plus R in final position. Actor, computer, sugar, flavour, where we also have OUR in this case. RE in British and ER in American in final position. Centre, URE in final position. Mixture, future, vowel plus R not in final position. Yesterday, pursue, persist. Most multisyllable words will have a schwa because they have at least one unstressed syllable. We have salad. Computer has two schwas. So if you see a word for the first time that you've never seen before and you've never heard before, if you can guess where the stress is, chances are you can use a schwa in the other syllables. So I would suggest you chance it and use it, and you have a 95% chance to be right. But however, as we all know, we always have some exceptions. A couple of them are mentor. We don't say mentor. We say optician, not optician. We say concept, not concept. And please don't quote me on this because I don't know if it's a real rule, but from what I can gather, if a word ends in ess but not ness, just ess, this e is strong. We don't say axis, we say access. The last point in today's lesson is secondary stress. In some words, a syllable will have a secondary stress, meaning that it's not as important as the syllable with a main or primary stress, but it's not as insignificant as a normal unstressed syllable. And that means that a syllable with secondary stress can't be pronounced with a schwa because it's not weak enough to have that. Here you have a full video on secondary stress and how we can play with it in English, but for today's lesson we only need to know that the main rule is that it occurs 2 syllables before the primary one. Let's take the word afternoon. The primary stress is on noon, which we see indicated by an apostrophe before the syllable noon itself. But also we can see another small apostrophe at the foot before the first R sound, and that is a secondary stress. Now, without the secondary stress, we could assume that the first R and then ER are both pronounced as a schwa because they're not stressed. So we would say afternoon. But because it contains a secondary stress, so the R syllable comes 2 syllables before noon, we say afternoon. We keep it strong. The same thing happens with personality. The first per syllable is not the main stress, but it's the secondary one. So we keep the a full, long, single sound rather than personality with a schwa. If you're ever in doubt, I always recommend you check a dictionary just to make sure that the word has a secondary stress, so you will know not to pronounce a schwa on that syllable. Within native English accents, there are different variations of the schwa sound. My personal one is very strict and pure. I only ever say I say teacher, teacher. Some other accents, more modern ones as well, tend to open the schwa a little bit more into almost an sound. So they would say teacher, teacher. And if you go into Cockney, they really open it up into a teacher. So you can sort of play with it yourselves, but I would recommend you stay away from extremely thick regional accents just for the sake of English exams, so you can sound as neutral as possible. And if we apply this to American, now American uses the schwa the same way that we do in British English, but what's important to notice is what happens with words that typically end in ER or also OR or AR. So they still do pronounce a schwa, they just add a R to it. So they don't say teacher, they just say teacher, teacher. And that's it for today. If you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe to my channel down below. And please make sure you don't miss next week's video where we talk about how we can play with the schwa a little bit more. In the meantime, I will see you on Thursday with my quick vocabulary video and next week with my next explanation one.